Hi, folks. This is Don Meisner with the North Country Fishing Report. Well, recently I had a chance to talk to a number of anglers from around the country that came to fish our Toyota series. And because I was sort of directing traffic in the early part of the morning when it was still dark out, I got to talk to a lot of them in their cars. They were waiting for their turn to pull into the Massena intake. And one of the things that so many of them told me was that the biggest thing that was affecting their fishing was the wind. And not just, well, was it really windy or wasn't it windy, but the direction of the wind plays such a huge role in the St. Lawrence River in particular, because it will determine how easily or how difficult it is for them to maintain their position and their drift in the current. And that seems to be everything. Remember, these fish orient in the current, especially smallmouth bass. Largemouth are a little different. They'll be back in the bays. But for smallmouth bass, they're river current creatures. And so how effectively you can present your bait to them in that current is often determined by the wind, because boat speed has to be exact so that your bait is not being dragged or pulled in that current. It's not going against the current. It's going down through the river naturally. And that takes a lot of talent. It takes a lot of manipulation from the boat. And when that wind changes, it can change not only how effective you can be, but sort of the preference of the fish, because they're very aware of changes that are taking place. So I've always told you that the wind is one of my biggest enemies in fishing. Number one, because I use light tackle, and when it's really windy, you can't use that finesse presentation quite that same, because the wind is going to blow your line and it's going to make it difficult to feel how effectively it's drifting in the current, or it's going to make it more difficult to feel strikes. It's also going to make it difficult if you're fishing the little tributaries. I might cast out to an area I think the fish are, but the wind can be so strong that it's blowing my line and the light bait down through the water unnaturally. So the wind is something that always has been a really stiff competitor for me, and even for these top pros, the wind plays all the impact and all the effect in the world. And they would tell me, they would say, I was doing great in the first part of the day, or we can flip it around and say the second part of the day. But when the wind changed, everything changed for us. And I heard that story over and over and over. So, as we look out on the water and we see these bass boats and we wonder what's happening with these top anglers that are fishing our area, one of the biggest things that they have to contend with is changing in wind speed and wind direction. Until next time, folks, this is Don Meisner with the North Country Fishing Report.